My colleague, Senator Hancock, who represents Berkeley, is here participating, and Senator, I'm going to defer to you.
Thank you so much. I've been listening to the rest on our TV downstairs, but wanted to come up for this part of the meeting, even though I'm not on the committee. Let me say, I actually was unaware of this until I heard over the weekend that you were going to be testifying, Samantha, and I do want to thank you so much for being here, because I know that it takes courage to step up and step forward and demand change, and to hang in there when it doesn't always happen in the way that it should, in the way you would want. And I do think there's so many analogies in my mind, frankly, to Ferguson, et cetera, that sexism pervades our culture in very much the same way that racism does, and we don't look at it too much till something happens, and then some group of people say, no more. We are going to see this one through. And I believe that change will come from this, and I'm just very, very pleased and grateful that you're here. Because I'd like to comment that I think this is a bullying strategy. You know, social research tells us that rape is an act of power and an act of bullying, and a lot of sexism is bullying, and certainly what happened using the internet. We've had a great deal of discussion about cyberbullying in this House with young women who were older, who were high school.
Even junior,
yeah, last year was,
sure.
That's right. And that it's something that we have to put a stop to for the sake of young women, and I would say for the sake of young men, because just like racism, sexism diminishes everyone in our society. So how do we get that deep cultural change? I did hear that on December 14th, I think there was a voluntary restorative justice circle held at Berkeley High. I just wondered if you could comment on that. And
yeah, so I wasn't a part of that because that had to deal with a specific Instagram site that circulated this year. Yeah. So only those involved were in that meeting. But I know that my small school, CAS, in relationship to this Instagram account, did a restorative justice program ourselves, and I found that extremely helpful because it was, 4 male students, 4 female students, and our teachers, and we had a Socratic seminar, fishbowl style, where we really got to understand a lot of where the boys were coming from, and a lot of it did go back to social norms and how they thought they were expected to act as young athletic males. Mm-hmm. And so I think that restorative justice and talking through and really trying to understand different sexes can only help with this problem.
Yeah, I'm again thinking that we need to enforce all the laws, and we need to go deeper in the laws than the laws, because where the places in the heart where this kind of bullying gets generated from have really got to stop. I look, anything that I or my office can do to work with all of you, and I've talked to some of the school board members over the weekend as this moves forward, I'm very happy to do. I was just reminded of 2 quick things. I don't know, I may be the oldest person here to remember this, but there was a time in Israel when Golda Meir was the premier, when it was suggested that there were increases in attacks on women because they wore tight jeans, and the police suggested a curfew for women after 10 o'clock at night. And Golda Meir replied, oh no, I think we need a curfew for all men after 10 o'clock at night. And the subject was quickly dropped, needless to say. But also, on a historical note, Bay Area Women Against Rape was founded a number of decades ago by a Berkeley High School student who was raped at Berkeley High School, and said that she decided that it would help her heal if she felt that other young women would never have to go through that. I think that the work you're doing in raising this issue is timely and really important, and thank you for doing it.
I just want to add that, for what we have in place, clearly this is about as an example of a culture at a school that should be subject to the sanctions, the most extreme sanctions, it would seem to me, from OCR. And yet, are you still here? At some point, when we're done, I'd love for you to come up and chat about that, because what we're here today is to see what is and isn't working on the existing structure that we have, and clearly, this is a problem. And I just, again, want to thank you. We have to go on, but, and perhaps after we're done, I know that the Senator, I'm sure, being someone who loves her community and very proud of it in most respects, and certainly all of us as Californians are very concerned. But I want to thank you for your eloquence and your courage in coming forward. And now, Julie, see what you can do to top that. Huh?
That's a hard act. Thank you, first of all, for having representation from Los Angeles Unified School District, or LAUSD, today. I'm honored to be here with this panel and with the other experts I've heard speak today. My name is Julie Hall-Panameno. I'm the director, and actually, I know I am the Title IX coordinator for the district. In the district's Educational Equity Compliance Office. As you can see, our name speaks for itself. We're an office dedicated to student civil rights. Our office produces the district's non-discrimination and sexual harassment policies for the district. We enforce compliance. We provide training and technical assistance to all stakeholders and investigate and resolve harassment and discrimination complaints. We've, in fact, enlisted OCR out to train with us. Gail has made a special presentation, and we've been doing some recent trainings with our Title IX designees at our school sites. Always need more, though. The district has extensive policies in the area of sexual harassment, Title IX, supporting our transgender students, as well as employee code of conduct and more. In the development of those policies, we research those model policies across the state and nation and consult proactively with entities such as the Office for Civil Rights to ensure policies comprehensively address the needs of our students. We ensure compliance with employee review of their responsibilities under our non-discrimination and sexual harassment policies twice yearly via an online administrative certification system that our administrators input into and our central offices and our local area administrations oversee. Through this same vehicle, we also designate at least 2 Title IX complaint managers per site, and we do ask that they be a male and a female if possible. Our sexual harassment policy addresses significant areas such as definitions of terms like sexual harassment, sexual orientation, gender, gender identity, and sex. We identify protected categories as not just those that are actual, but also those that are perceived. We provide extensive examples of sexual harassment. We outline administrative responsibilities and Title IX complaint manager responsibilities. We also address distributing brochures in age-appropriate language to our students, both in the elementary setting and the secondary setting, as well as student orientations on point. Notification requirements are also covered, and this goes to posting of complaint managers in public locations throughout campus, our non-discrimination and sexual harassment policy statements, as well as the distribution of the district's parent-student handbook, which covers all the required notices. We also address complaint referral processes, comprehensive complaint response systems for school sites, investigation procedures, and then formal responses at the district headquarters to our uniform complaint procedures, and our office conducts those investigations. We track complaints and encourage our sites to track complaints and trends for later redress. We've provided recently logs for that effort as well. We address confidentiality and non-retaliation provisions, including special considerations for our lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and questioning or LGBTQ youth. We also address immediate intervention and investigative guidance, including analysis of what constitutes harassment and rises to level of being a hostile environment, and follow-up communications with families to ensure that both targets and accused know what has been done to address the concerns. We also address staff and student responsibilities regarding conduct, recognition, and prevention of harassment and reporting. The district extensively monitors incidents of sexual harassment or violence through a networked electronic incident tracking system that ensures immediate and comprehensive support network is secured for reinforcement and support to site administrators. Additionally, the district, via its Project 10 program, supports and advocates for our LGBTQ youth and employees since 1984 to reduce anti-gay harassment or sexual harassment. Currently, the district personnel provides support to gay straight alliances at schools and recognition of our LGBTQ youth and employees through significant events and initiatives. For example, in 2004, the district authored a textbook to include information regarding sexual orientation and gender identity, a topic that's often avoided in conversations in classrooms. In 2010, we began an annual National Coming Out Day at the district headquarters, and we have representation from our upper executive management in all of these events. 2011, we partnered with the local LGBTQ center to address increased suicidality with the student population. In 2013 and 14, we had significant Out for Safe Schools campaigns. In the first, we distributed over 30,000 badges showing staff are in support of our LGBTQ students or of students in general, and I brought mine with me today. It doesn't come with the bling, though. I did that myself. In addition, we did 60 public service announcements with stakeholders from all walks of life showing support for our students. We aired those on the public broadcasting that KLCS program the district has, and a segment on the public broadcast system called Gay LA Yesterday, Today, and Tomorrow. And our most recent Safe Schools campaign, we focused on efforts in the athletic domain on what we call blowing the whistle on hate. Recently, we have a board resolution underway, and we're planning the implementation of components to address dating and sexual violence, and we're working closely with Peace Over Violence with this. I know we want to look at what might be challenges for us. I look at it more as what our vision might be for our districts and our students, and that is, with our district, the size of 650,000 students or more in over 800 schools, I'd like to see more training of administrative staff and Title IX designees, in particular in the areas of complaint management and conducting investigations, to include quality investigations and follow-up. I'd also like to see that we ensure students recognize sexual harassment, their rights, and the illegalities. Pardon me. I would also like to see more educational outreach to our 5th through 8th grade students when sexual harassment peaks, perhaps in the form of content standards or in other ways, to teach children to be more assertive and respectful, and possibly public relations campaigns regarding respectful treatment, but targeting the younger audiences. And I think that's the sentiment shared amongst the group here. So at this point, I'd like to just say thank you for your attention to this matter. I appreciate that you're putting the level of scrutiny you are towards it.
Thank you, and thank you for coming today from LA. We wanted to make sure that we had full statewide representation, and I think it's critical. I think there's a kind of a common theme going through here that we've got to better educate administrators, students, the earlier the better. And there's much work to be done. Are there any questions in particular? I know, we're talking about economies of scale and size and all, and you mentioned LA Unified with 650,000 students and 800 schools. So the question is, there are 2 of you, am I not mistaken, who are in charge of the Equity Compliance Office, did you say?
I'm the Title IX coordinator for the district, but all of our school sites have 2 designees at their sites.
Okay, so you have actually trained, on each of the, so there are 1,600 people who have been trained in this area, is that?
The administrators train them at the sites, but there could be much more done in that regard.
Okay. That's kind of what I was.
Yeah, I'm an office of 9, and it's not enough.
Got it. Thank you. Last point, and then we've got to move on to our next panel. And
yeah, I wanted to say, there are good school districts that have, good policies, but it's actually putting the policies into practice And, as we did this last year with the athletics reporting bill, because we didn't have any of that data, as advocates, we don't have any of the data for each school to know how many complaints have been filed, even just confidential information. So there's no way for us to know if the policies are actually being put into practice and what that data is. So that would be one other thing that could be done to collect the data to figure out the real world applicability of these policies.
And one of the challenges is that there are a lot of complaints that aren't filed because people don't know they have the right to file a
Underreporting,
complaint.
right.
And the
So-
schools don't know that, we've got a lot of
Different
educating
tracks.
that
Yeah.
needs to be done. Quickly, and then.
Yeah, just on that note, before this incident, I had no idea what Title IX was. I went in. It turns out that I actually was never given a report statement. It was like a witness incident. So that way the district was not, they didn't need to file anything.
Got it, okay. Thank you very much, really appreciate your testimony. We're now going to switch gears ever so slightly to the pregnant and parenting teens. I think we've gone from the area where we know the most, even though it isn't particularly a lot, with Title IX in sports, to sexual harassment, and now the area of pregnant and parenting teams also covered under Title IX. That might be news to some of the schools, but we are here in the business of educating and informing, as well as hopefully creating policy that's going to better protect our students, particularly since the policy has been a national policy for 42 plus years and needs to be moved along. So we have Angelica Salcedo from the Reproductive Justice, Equal Justice Works Fellow with the ACLU of Northern California. And Angelica, if you'll go ahead and start, and then I'll introduce the other two. And again, we're running a little late. If you could try to speak up.
Thank you to Senator Hannah Beth Jackson and her staff for putting this informational hearing together. My name is Angelica Salceda. I'm an Equal Justice Works Fellow with ACLU of Northern California, leading a project focusing on improving educational opportunities for pregnant and parenting students. And as was mentioned earlier, Title IX does indeed protect pregnant and parenting students. But despite the seemingly clear protections under Title IX and California law, there is widespread unawareness among students and school administrators of the rights of pregnant and parenting students. And for the past year, we analyzed school district policies, interviewed individual teen parents, and surveyed them. Based on those three strategies, we recently wrote a report that you have now, and there's copies in the back, that examines school conditions for pregnant and parenting students in California with the focus on the Central Valley, which is a region home to 6 out of the 10 counties with the highest teen birth rates in the state. Our report identifies 5 main barriers in education that impact pregnant and parenting students, and those are included in the report and the executive summary. One of those barriers is stigmatizing behavior and language, which Marisol from CLRJ will speak more about shortly. Today, I will go into greater detail on 2 of the barriers we identified in our report. The first barrier we identified is that there are unequal educational opportunities for pregnant and parenting students, particularly when teen parent programs are housed in continuation schools and do not provide a pathway to higher education. So Title IX and state law requires that separate programs be comparable or equal. However, we found that there is a lack of access to college prep classes at alternative education sites. One example is one student said she took the same English course 3 times because there was no other English course available to her at her continuation school that houses a teen parent program. In districts that don't provide childcare for teen parents, a teen parent's best alternative would be to enroll in independent study so that they can stay at home and take care of their child. However, some school districts explicitly restrict students from taking A through G courses if they decide to enroll in the independent study program. The lack of access to college prep courses forecloses a student's opportunity to pursue higher education. Under the same umbrella of unequal educational opportunities, we found that some school administrators pressured students to switch schools. Students were told that enrolling in independent study or at a continuation school would be better and safer for them than staying in the regular school. The second barrier we identified was the difficulty that students face in obtaining accommodations to breastfeed or express milk. Pregnant students and those recovering from childbirth-related conditions must be provided with the same accommodations and support services available to other students with similar medical needs. And the Office of Civil Rights has indeed released a guidance document that reiterates this legal right and encourages school districts to adopt additional strategies to support teen parents, including providing a private room for young mothers to breastfeed, pump milk, or address other needs related to breastfeeding during the school day. However, we found that some school administrators discouraged lactating students from expressing breast milk at school and did not provide students with a private, safe place to do so, despite having a designated place for staff. 2 out of the 9 pregnant and parenting students we interviewed said that their decision to leave regular school was based entirely on their inability to breastfeed or express milk at school during the school day. One student was told by her high school counselor that if she wanted to pump, she could enroll in the continuation school or independent study program because it was not recommended that she pump at regular school. Another student was allowed to express milk during school hours, but only in a shared public restroom. So our report has specific recommendations at the state and local level for breaking down the 5 barriers we identified, 2 of which I just spoke about. At the state level, for the barriers I discussed today, we recommend that the legislator pass legislation to specify in the education code that lactating students have a right to a private, safe location to breastfeed and express milk. And to equalize the educational pathway, we recommend the Department of Education create an online consortium of courses that meet A through G requirements and make these available to students who don't have access to them, either at their continuation school or independent study program. In general, the most important takeaway today is to remember that schools do have an obligation to pregnant and parenting students under both Title IX and state law. Under the new local control funding formula, schools can and should prioritize developing programs for these students who are often members of one or more of the priority populations under LCFF. And indeed, providing specific programming, including childcare for parenting students, is the most effective way to improve educational outcomes for this population. And overall, as a state, we must ensure that students' rights are protected while also reinvesting in programs for this unique population of students and their children.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Marisol Franco, who is the Associate Director of Programs for California Latinas for Reproductive Justice. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Senator Hannah Beth Jackson, for putting this hearing together and for having us today, and really for including pregnant and parenting student issues, which are not always seen as Title IX, the most salient Title IX issues. California Latinas for Reproductive Justice is a statewide organization that works on policy advocacy, community-informed research, leadership development, and community education. We have a specific program initiative called Justice for Young Families that promotes the health, equity, dignity, and opportunity of young parents. We think of those under age 20. Through our Justice for Young Families initiative, we've conducted focus groups with young mothers and fathers in the Central Valley and Los Angeles. We formed a Young Parent Leadership Council in Los Angeles last year, which was comprised of young mothers from the Bell Gardens High School in Los Angeles County. Our young parents couldn't be here today, so I'm here really to share their stories to illustrate the challenges that they're facing in obtaining equity in education. So young parents are actually being left out both of education and extracurricular activities on campuses. From our focus groups, the following story I'd like to share is that from one young parent stated that, when I tried to go back to basketball, the coach said he wasn't going to play me because I had a child. He said he needed people to be there every day. He said he wanted to put the team that wins, not the team that loses. So because of that, I can't play basketball. These are stories that we hear routinely from the young parents. One of our young parent leaders shared the following story. They had an award ceremony at Bell Gardens High School that recognized students above a certain GPA with certificates. The students that are part of the Pregnancy Minors program, however, that were eligible for GPAs were not acknowledged. Our parent leader actually spoke to the vice principal after the program, who later gave them their certificates, but they had already not been acknowledged in public. And then, so as Angelica has mentioned, there's a lot that has been done in terms of providing supportive environments for young parents to continue their educational goals. However, these supportive environments do not always offer equal educational opportunities. Many of the pregnancy minor programs are considered continuation schools, as the Bell Gardens High School program, even though it's still on regular campus. And in the district that Bell Gardens High School belongs to, continuation schools do not provide A through G classes, let alone honors or AP classes. This is important as many of the young parents that we work with have shared their aspirations of wanting to go to college and obtain a career. However, there's no pathway to that. The young parents we've worked with tend to have less access to regular school opportunities as well. Sometimes this is structural. So for instance, there's clubs, there's different things that happen. However, the young parents in Bell Gardens are actually required to stay with their child during lunch, which limits their high school experience. It's really necessary to enable young parents to participate in all extracurricular activities that happen during the school day, providing equal opportunity. Then there's the issue of stigma and shame. Stigma itself is a barrier to equal educational opportunities for pregnant and parenting students and violates Title IX, yet it is widespread for pregnant and parenting students. For instance, one focus group participant shared an instance of blatant discrimination where a teacher told a pregnant student in front of her class, quote, "I think it's wrong that you guys have childcare at school. If you guys get pregnant, you should be kicked out of school," end quote. Stigma is also pushing young parents into different and primarily incomparable educational settings. The Bell Gardens High School young parents in the pregnancy minor program are relegated to the farthest corner of the campus behind a gate. Even the teacher notes that this demonstrates a lot of stigma by saying, "Don't cross that gate or you might actually get pregnant." That's a common thought among the young women who are at the pregnancy minor program. And the primary reason that most of the young women who participated in a focus group cited for choosing to enroll in a pregnancy minor program at their school was not to be judged. A young parent expressed why she left the regular campus to go into the pregnancy minor program by saying, "I chose to come here because I don't want people judging me out there. Out there people criticize like, oh, look, she's pregnant. And I came out just because I wanted to be judged, because I didn't want to be judged." Some of these things are really structural. We as our society has treated teen pregnancy and young parents as the social problem that needs to be addressed when we really should be addressing unintended pregnancy and the factors that lead that to, such as lack of access to healthcare and information, and poverty and unequal educational access. We need to stop stigmatizing young parents and change the conditions that push young people out. Unfortunately, we also don't have a lot of data on pregnant and parenting students, let alone the conditions that they are currently learning under. Lastly, I wanted to share that other types of discrimination that the participants also described by teachers is stating that they feel sorry for them, expressing disappointment and lower expectations, stating that they have ruined their lives and that they are a waste of talent. This is not the message we want to send our pregnant parenting students, especially since they are also raising the next generation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And welcome back, or I guess you didn't leave. But thank you. We're going to have Julie Hall Panameno, is it you pronounce it? How do you pronounce
That's very good, thank you.
Okay. Again, from LA Unified.
Okay, and I won't reintroduce my office and whatnot because that's already been addressed. So I'll just jump straight into, the district has extensive policy in the area of pregnant parenting teens, again, with sexual harassment and Title IX as well. And I've spoken to the research that goes into those efforts. We ensure compliance with employee reviews in the ways that I mentioned earlier with regard to our online system for doing that and the accountabilities built into that. We recognize that our pregnant and parenting teens have needs and rights that need to be understood at a larger level in order to ensure their maximum access to our programs. Our pregnant and parenting teen policy addresses a significant breadth of areas such as enrollment and participation robustly in all district programs and activities, attendance and excused absences, as well as makeup work, credits, and assistance, fact sheets regarding student rights, climate issues regarding harassment and discrimination and complaint processes available, a range of reasonable adjustments to facilitate full participation, parameters around required medical documentation and students' right to consent to medical treatment, participation in PE and alternatives, confidentiality and disclosure of pregnancies, voluntary alternative education programs such as ones you've heard about today. We also have some district specialized programs that offer small size, shortened day child development classes, nutrition, health, childbirth, parenting, full-time nursing, transportation options, individual instructional contracts, childcare, and then to address some of the issues I've heard today, concurrent enrollment to maximize participation in the needed courses, as well as additional resources. Our student health and human services and health education programs in the district implement health education per California standards, beginning in 4th grade and continuing through high school, with increasing depth, such as addressing sexual health, reproduction, stages of birth, prevention. They also operate under several federal grants. For example, we have a pilot in over 20 schools identified based on high birth rate in parts of the city, such as South Los Angeles, East Los Angeles, and parts of the San Fernando Valley. An evidence-based pregnancy prevention intervention program is being implemented, and eventually there'll be a second tier to this program. Also, additionally, the district plans to target those efforts towards males as well in reducing pregnancy, and we will look to another federal grant opportunity for that work as well. We offer a smoking prevention program to our pregnant minors, and we have a nursing department offering an evidence-based nurse-family partnership with designated nurses carrying a caseload of 25 students in which they provide support to pregnant and parenting teens via home visits, referrals, connecting them with resources, and reducing recidivism. They've seen our girls stay in school and go to college through their efforts. Knowing the size of our district, you can see there's room for growth in those kinds of opportunities. Again, those are being funded through federal grants right now. Getting back to the vision or challenges that we might have as a district and the size that we are, I would like to move towards more ways to partner with organizations so that we can help locate and find our pregnant and parenting teens, especially those that relocate or drop out of school. Also, I'd like to, again, going back to our main mission, ensure adequate education and supports for our youth, as well as equitable and comprehensive counseling for this student population. And I want to thank you again for your attention to all of these comprehensive facets of Title IX.
Well, it sounds like you certainly have a quality program in place. The question is just the expanse to which you're
breadth.
able to
Yes.
apply it, and obviously that's subject to some real concern. Do you have any information on the number of pregnant teens that you serve?
No, I'm afraid I don't today.
Is there that information? Do we
Yes,
know?
there
Okay.
is.
Any estimate? Is it 1% of the girls in the LA Unified School District or in the high schools? I mean, can we get some sense of the extent of the need?
I don't have that information today, but I'd be happy to get
If you
back
wouldn't
to you.
mind.
Yes.
Thank you.